Hi everyone, this is Matthew Peters for Critical Cognition. Today we're going to learn how to install the brand new Windows 8. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is download the Windows 8 software. And we can do that by going to the windows.microsoft website. And I'll have all of these links in the description below. And when you go to this website, you'll see a big blue button here that says Download Windows 8 Consumer Preview. And you might think that that is what we're going to use, but it is not, because if we do that, what that will do is that will overwrite your current operating system, and we do not want to do that. We want to install it in a virtual machine, in VirtualBox, so that we can play around with it without deleting our current operating system. So what you'll see on this page is a link called ISO format. We want to go to that page. And it will take us to a page with ISO images. And these are images of DVDs that will allow you to install it to VirtualBox. And you want to download the one that will run on your CPU, either 64-bit version or the 32-bit version. And to determine which version you need, you can go to Start, Control Panel, and scroll down to System, and go to System, and see which system type you have. So here I have a 64-bit operating system, so I would download the 64-bit version here. Just click on that link. It would ask me where I would like to save it, and I would click Save As, and then store it somewhere on my hard disk. Now I've already done that, and it would take quite a while because these files are quite big. The 32-bit version and 2.5 gig, and 64-bit version quite a bit bigger at 3.3 gig. So you might want to give yourself maybe half an hour to an hour to download those, depending on your web connection. Now, once you've downloaded the installation media, you want to download VirtualBox from Oracle. And on the download page for VirtualBox, there are a couple of links here. What we want to do is download the one for Windows host. So we'll be clicking on this link. And clicking on that link will give us a download dialog box to download the installation media for VirtualBox. And once you've downloaded that, you'd want to run that, and that will install VirtualBox on your PC. You might have to restart your computer in order to complete the installation. We won't go through that here, but once you have completed that, you're going to have an icon in your start menu called Oracle VM VirtualBox. And when you click on that, you'll see a window that looks a little bit like this. So we want to click on New, and that'll bring up this dialog box. And we want to click Next, and it'll ask us for the VM name and operating system type. And we want to Windows 8 Consumer Preview. Now, it tries to determine what you are trying to install by the name that you give it. And you want to select Windows 8 or Windows 8 64-bit depending upon which CPU you have. And click on Next, and it'll bring us to memory. And we want to put at least 2 gigabytes of RAM for this. So once like 2048, remember that 1 gig is equal to 1024 megabytes. Let's click Next, and it'll ask us where we want to put the virtual hard disk. And this is the disk that the virtual machine will use when running Windows 8. So we want to create a new hard disk, and click Next. And here it'll ask us what type of virtual disk we want to create, and we want to select the virtual disk image. So a VDI is fine. Let's click Next. And we want it to be dynamically allocated. So let's click Next. And in a location, there is a dialog box that we can open to put it someplace where there's a good location on our hard drive. Now I have a place where I can put mine. Mine's going to go here. and that's a good file name, so I'll click Save. And the default is 20 gigabytes, and that is an okay size, so we'll click Next. It won't actually allocate all that size up front. It will be dynamically expanding, so we'll start off at a couple gigabytes, but the maximum size of disk will be 20 gigabytes. So I'm going to click Next, and that's fine, so I'm going to click Create. And it'll come to this summary screen, and that's fine, and I'll click Create. Great. Now what I get here is a panel for the virtual machine that I just created. Now I want to start the virtual machine and install Windows 8. But before I do that, I got to tell my virtual machine where the virtual DVD is, that ISO image that we downloaded. So I'm going to select my virtual machine, and I'm going to click Settings. And that's going to bring me to this dialog box here. And I want to click Storage over here on the left. And under this ID controller, it'll be empty. And I want to click this icon here and select Choose a Virtual CD DVD Disk File, which will open up this dialog box, and it will, you can navigate to where you have your ISO image, and there's where I downloaded the Windows 8 Consumer Preview 64-bit. So I'm going to click Open, and then I'm going to click OK. Now what happens is when I start this virtual machine, it will read that ISO file and allow me to install Windows 8. So let's click Start and see what happens. And the first thing I see here is a Windows Setup dialog, and it's going to ask me the language, time, currency, format, and the keyboard. I'm going to select the defaults, those are fine. And it's going to ask me what I want to do. I guess I want to install now, so I'll click that. The next thing we do is come to this product key that we need to enter to activate Windows. And I'll have this in the description as well. But this is the key that tells Windows that this is the consumer preview and we can actually run it. So I'm entering the key. And that's the key for either the 32-bit or 64-bit version of Windows. So it will not matter which version you have. And then come to license terms, and of course we'll accept them. Click Next. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a custom install of Windows. We're not going to do an upgrade. So this is the unallocated space of the hard drive that we created before in VirtualBox. So I'll select that and click Next. And this part will take a bit of time. This will go through copying the Windows files, expanding the Windows files, installing all the features, any updates from Microsoft, and then come back to almost done installing Windows. So this will take about 15 minutes. So I'm going to fast forward through this and come back when that's done. Okay, we're back after the reboots, and the first thing we see is this personalized screen in which we can give the PC a name. That's Windows 8 PC, and there's a color slider so you can change the color of the background if you want to. I'm just going to leave the default of blue. I'm going to click Next. And there are a bunch of settings that you can set in Windows 8, but we're not going to go through all of them here. We're just going to use the Express settings. So I'll click on that button. And what Microsoft wants you to do is to sign up with a Windows Live account so that you can sync your settings across PCs. However, you don't need to do that for the preview. So what you're going to do is you're going to click the link that says don't want to sign up with a Microsoft account. And we're going to click this button down here called Local Account. So that's like an account that's you see on your regular Windows 7 or Windows Vista PC. And we're going to create a username for us. And select a password. I'm going to click Finish. And this is going to go into something where it's going to finalize the settings. And this takes about another 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm going to fast forward through this and come back when it's finished. Okay, we're back after a reboot. And here is the Windows 8 desktop. You'll notice that there is no button on here to log in. What you do is you click on the desktop here and push up, and that actually takes you to the login screen. Here's my login name. I'm going to enter my password and hit enter. And what that is going to do is that is going to take me to the Windows 8 start screen. Here it is. And I encourage you to click on several of these applications and play around with them. You can scroll back and forth, right and left, to see the different applications. And I'll have a more in-depth review of Windows 8 in an upcoming video. But for now, I encourage you to start playing around with it. Well, there you have it. If you have any questions or issues, leave them in the comments section below. Remember to click subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Critical Cognition.